Today on the Possibility Mom Live, I am so excited to interview a woman I have long admired, Jackie Mulligan, the founder of Reform Wellness. We're going to be talking about Christ-centered health and wellness. What does it mean to pursue holiness? What does it look like to put Christ very much at the center of your health and wellness journey? That's what's coming up today on the Possibility Mom Live. I am coming off of a very, very fun week where I spent some time in Tampa, Florida. And I was there because, as the president of the Guiding Star Project, which many of you know is a charity in the United States that I've been involved with for the last year, we have opened our very first corporately owned. So we are very much like the parent organization. The Guiding Star Project is very much involved in the runnings of this birth center. And we use the word holistic as well with a W. We focus on the whole person, the whole woman there. And it was like, let me just tell you, this is a dream come to life. We've been talking about Leah Jacobson's original vision has always been to have a birth center surrounded by all of the other things that Guiding Star has to offer. And it was just such a dream. It is also now snowing where I am in Peterborough, Canada. So it was very lovely to have a little, Floridian sunshine on my body. And I also got to do a very, very quick trip over to Ave Maria, Florida. So it was a lovely, lovely couple of days. And I'm just so excited for the adventure that is unfolding. So as you know, if you've been a longtime listener here, the pursuit of healthy living and being a more grounded human being has very much been, especially in the last few years. I've shared my story of dealing with stress in a little bit of a healthier way. I've shared my story of pursuing internal family systems, counseling, therapy, because it has been so helpful to unpack some wounds that I realized that I had very much not addressed. And being pregnant for the 11th time, or the 12th time, more accurately, 11th baby here on Earth. It's been a thing, like being a healthy human being with changing hormones, with changing lives, with all the kids, all the things. I feel like perhaps, and let me know in the comments if you're listening to this, do you also feel like a busy mom? Your health gets put on the absolute bottom of the priority list. And I want to say that I'm the kind of person who prioritizes health. Like I want to, I really want to say that that is actually me. But if I'm being really honest, in practice, it is the easiest thing for me to absolutely not prioritize. And I'm really curious if that resonates with you. Since turning 40, I think there's just been some realities that and let me know if you are also over 40 and you've also felt this shift. There have just been some realities where I've almost been quote unquote forced to, sleep more. Like my body just craves a lot more of it. My body is craving a lot more just peace and not necessarily so much, frenetic. Like I like to work really hard, but my body and my mind are just craving let's take it down a notch, not necessarily be at 120 miles. Let's just kind of let's pare it down a little bit. You can still get a lot done, but maybe being in the right hand lane. That might not be the perfect analogy, but I have watched the growth of Reform Wellness for a very, very long time. And I am so excited that I finally get to have a conversation with its founder, Jackie Mulligan. So without further ado, Jackie Mulligan, welcome to the Possibility Mom Live. How are you today?
Hi, Lisa. Thank you so much for having me. I'm doing well. Thanks be to God.
I'm so excited to talk to you today. So just for anyone who might not know you and Reform, will you just introduce yourself?
Sure. So Reform is a Christ-centered wellness apostolate. So we look at the health of the body and soul together, and return to a life that is simply centered on Christ alone. So we let the Lord be the center of all aspects of our well-being, and we do this through the framework of our 9 wellness pillars. So everything is centered on Christ, Lisa. We have faith at the center, and then if you can imagine the shape of a monstrance, we have 8 other pillars that connect and are informed by Him, that really define our overall health and well-being. So we have sleep and stress management, personal growth, nutrition, play, functional movement, community, and space. And so we work with men and women worldwide, laity, religious, priests, both in person and online, to help reorient and reclaim your health, physically and spiritually.
I could be wrong, and somebody on the internet, feel free to correct me, but I would say I have my finger pretty well on the pulse of these things.
Mm-hmm.
You guys were the first, in my memory, in the health and wellness space, I'll say, to really claim a Catholic identity. Like I don't really remember. Now there are many health coaches who involve their Catholic faith in their practice, but it was not the case when you guys launched. There might have been some other people maybe doing it privately or what have you, but especially on the internet, I do not recall anybody else just leading so unabashedly. Like your logo is a monstrance. Like it's not, you're not hiding anything about it. It's not just innuendo or kind of implied. Like it is absolutely front and center. So first of all, is that accurate? Like I'm wondering if you have the same read of the landscape, and what led you to just be so we are making this authentically Catholic?
Lisa, it was quite a journey, but the journey started with my own relationship to the Lord. I was born and raised Catholic and really practiced it to the degree I was aware, and had really solid faith formation, I would say. Went to Catholic high school and was really active in college. And I realized that as I was in my late 20s, and sort of achieving all the things that the world promises will bring you happiness and peace and success, and health, that there is still this element of emptiness that I was yearning for. I think that St. Pope John Paul II says it best in his quote. So I'm going to share that in describing what I experienced. And I think many of us know this quote. It is Jesus that you seek when you dream of happiness. He is waiting for you when nothing else you find satisfies you. He is the beauty to which you are so attracted. It is he who provoked you with that thirst for fullness that will not let you settle for compromise. It is he who urges you to shed the masks of a false life. It is he who reads your heart and your most genuine choices, the choices that others try to stifle. It is Jesus who stirs in you the desire to do something great with your lives, the will to follow an ideal, the refusal to allow yourself to be ground down by mediocrity, the courage to commit yourself humbly and patiently to improve yourself and society, making the world more human and more fraternal. I read that in adoration when I was reconnected with the Eucharistic Lord in adoration, and something really stirred in my heart. This desire to do something great, but this realization that I was compartmentalizing him and I didn't know it. I thought I was doing everything I was supposed to, going to Mass on Sunday, praying sporadically. But I really didn't know how to invite the Lord into these other elements of my health and my well-being, or even just my life in general. And so it was really in adoration that reform was born. And it was before many hours in prayer and in surrender from my own striving, after achieving a lot of the things I thought I was supposed to, and that I'm glad that I did. They've all been very fruitful and have helped me to grow and to land where I am today. However, I didn't understand that the Lord can be a part of my nutrition or my community or my personal growth or my functional movement. Like, at the time I was very active in CrossFit, like, where does Jesus fit into CrossFit? All of these things. And it was very, very real. But the more I sat with him and understood my identity in him, Lisa, like, who is Jackie of Jesus? And how come that might be different than Jackie in the world? And why aren't those the same people? And I think it's because the world teaches you that you can have freedom outside of the Lord and find your own happiness. And I found that to be a lie. I found that the only way I was really happy was when I was living from the truest version of who I am and being Jackie of Jesus. And so I started to slowly change my own life. Before I even brought this into the world in any capacity, I started to really live from a place of, well, what would my relationships look like if I lived from a place that I remembered that I was a beloved daughter of Christ? How would I eat and nourish my body if I nourished a beloved daughter of Christ? Like, how would I treat the temple of the Holy Spirit? How would I manage stress, or would I allow my life to be so stressful about trivial things if I remembered that I'm a beloved daughter of Christ? So this was a progression, a long progression. I think looking back, it looks very fast. But for me, upon hours and hours upon sitting with the Lord, which was truly the greatest chapters of my life, he was inviting me to do what was necessary. And I wanted to do what felt was impossible. And I think that's sometimes where people stand. Like, gosh, as a mother of 12, let's say, in your case, and in all the beautiful ways that the Lord has those dynamics, it feels impossible for you to have a perfect calendar and, to live out all the pillars. And he's not asking for you to do that. He's asking you to start with what's possible and what's necessary. And he will bring you to what feels impossible. And so that's just what I did, Lisa. I started with the basics. I started simply by praying every day, simply by allowing him to be the center of my own heart and my own mind. And then from there, little by little, he just started to take real estate in my whole life in every single area. And my life literally changed completely.
Oh, there's so many things I could say in response. And I really want I want to invite people to just, pause on what Jackie just said about, have you compartmentalized anything? And for me, we have a similar, there's lots of parallels in our story. I had an HGTV show. I was growing this very public, public career. And I was 100% compartmentalizing. And I also didn't really know it. I kind of just thought that's what you did. It's like you did the same way that people don't talk about like faith and politics in the workplace. I kind of just was like, yeah, of course, you don't invite Jesus into your work. And like, that is, everybody listen, that's like, don't do that. Like, don't do that. But I think, so I just really want to pause for a moment and just invite people to just really think, like, even your nutrition, are you compartmentalizing? And so I'd love to just go into, there's so many things I want to talk about. I want to talk business. I want to talk health. I want to talk like the origin of reform, all the things. But let's start with, what does it look like to not exclude Jesus from your health, from your nutrition? Like, I'd love some specific examples.
Well, I think we have to start with him being central in our lives and well-being. And so if he is not at the center, something or someone is. So a lot of times when people come, let's use the example of nutrition and maybe a disordered approach to eating, struggling with weight, or struggling with overconsumption or not nourishing enough. Typically, the pillar of nutrition has actually become central in that person's life, where they're so focused on nutrition or macros or the scale that they're more focused on that rather than the Lord. And when your motivation is something that's fleeting, which is anything outside of him, the one thing that doesn't change, you cannot make true, sustainable, meaningful change. Like, at some point, it's going to get old. At some point, it's not going to be motivating anymore. And when it's Christ that you make your why, you will want to nourish your body in a way that allows your body to have an environment that it can actually heal, where it can then
Mm.
function with enough fuel, with real whole foods. And it sounds almost too easy, Lisa, because we hear that, right? Well, I know I'm supposed to eat real whole foods. I know that I'm supposed to sleep 7.5 hours, but we're not doing the basics. And so we focus on these really big picture items that are outside and want to kind of be a little bit, we want to take a greater leap than the Lord is asking. Like the leap that he asks of us is to say yes to him. The leap that he's asking is saying, will you let me be the center of your life and well-being? Like, will you let me journey with you? And once you say yes, he's like, you don't have to figure it all out. We're going to make small steps little by little, but we're just going to start with the things that you do every day, like pray, like eat, and like sleep. We're not even going to go to the other areas yet. We're just going to start with the foundations, because then with those foundational aspects, little by little, we will have a greater capacity to do all the other things that we really want to do, but in the right order. And so I would say that many people are just living out of order. So their bodies are literally broken.
Hmm. I was talking to my spiritual director, something that the Lord, kind of revealed to me on a trip recently. And I was telling him about it. I was like, I think he's asking me to just really like do this one specific thing. I'm just going to I'll keep it private. But I was telling my spiritual director, but I was like, I don't have time to do this. Like literally, I was like, I do not have time to do what he's asking. And my director was just like, can you imagine if you do it, like if you say yes and you just do what he's asking, how it might make other areas of your life so much more efficient, so much more effortless. Like imagine, and he was using mindset coaching stuff on me. He was like, just get curious about this relationship you have with time. Like you don't have time to do this thing he's asking you, but what if you did, and what if it could unlock like all this efficiency? So that was very powerful for me. Okay, I'm so intrigued by you. Honestly, this is so much fun. I want to pivot slightly to the business side of it.
Sure,
this is so much. You can kind of obviously tell from spending 5 minutes with you. This is such a calling. This is such a ministry. You've helped hundreds of thousands of people, if I'm not mistaken. Like so many people have gone on an incredible journey. So I want to just talk briefly about the business aspect of it, because it has grown so rapidly. So if you had to name one strategy, there are so many moms listening who are growing a business in the margins of their motherhood. They've got online shops that they're building during nap time. They're coaches. I have so many coaches and consultants in my world, in my corner of the internet, who I'm honored to walk with in my programs. What would you say is one just tactical strategy, whether it be Facebook ads or whether it's being really clear on your messaging or beautiful branding, what have you? Like, what would you say is one tactic that was really helpful in the growth of Reform?
Lisa, I love this question, and I'm not going to answer it in a way that you're probably expecting, but I want to be very honest. The entire success of our apostolate depends on one thing, and that is our interior life being centered on the Blessed Sacrament, on the Eucharist. And when we are living a Christ-centered life and leading from a place that is authentically connected, meaning that we are walking the walk and not just talking the talk, growth occurs. Everything is an extension of our relationship with the Lord. And whenever I've focused more on the business and desire to strive like ahead of the Lord or faster than the Lord, and then at that point, I compromise my prayer life, again, it becomes out of order. And now the priority is on the end result rather than Him carrying us. And so I think I told you this when we spoke last week, but the Lord has really been my business coach. Like I haven't ever had a business coach outside of the Lord. And that is because He's never failed me. He's directed me. And honestly, I don't think you can really compete with the Lord. And so we have had seasons where our team was growing very fast and our business was growing very quickly. And it just felt totally misaligned to what he was asking. He wanted even reform to remain simple. And we have a strong and mighty team, but we keep things at a heavenly pace, meaning that it is prioritized on living what we call a reform way of life, keeping our lives centered in him. And so there's actually a really great book called The Soul of the Apostolate that many of you probably have heard of, but it does talk about the success of any apostolate being on our interior life and be an extension of that. And I have had my greatest ideas, my greatest reflections, my greatest humiliations in adoration, in prayer, and before the Lord. And I think when work feels ordinary or really hard, that we need to fix our hearts more on the Lord and let him make the breakthrough, like through us, and he will. So I would say that's my strategy, and that's honest. Like that is truly my strategy. Anything that we share in the marketing realm, or even to spread the word, has been people's authentic experience in reforming their lives in Christ, and they are so changed, and they are so happy and healthy that they spread the word for us.
Yeah.
So that's a huge, tremendous blessing. Of course, we have some platforms that allow us to share this, but that's never been the main focus. And so it's a bit of a out of the box response, but
it's a perfect response. I mean, and I think it's something that personally, I'll just tell a very quick story. Years ago, so this was probably about coming on like almost 10 years, I had the beautiful opportunity to interview Sister Ann Shields. So Sister Ann Shields was part of the team, if I remember correctly, that founded Franciscan. Like she was around in that time, that very formative time. And I asked her, and so this is like 10 years younger Lisa, very self-reliant. Like I was kind of getting out of, I was slowly emerging from this self-reliant phase that took a very long time. It's still taking a long time for me, but
well, I asked her, welcome to the journey.
Welcome to the journey. And I asked her, I was like, Franciscan has obviously grown like tremendously. And, you know, I think I asked her a similar question to what I asked you, like, what did you do? Like, what did you do to create such movement? And it was so fascinating because she just was like, sometimes you just have to wait and pray. And I remember Jackie being like, I'm not satisfied with that answer. I don't think that came out of my mouth, but in my head, I was like, no, you clearly didn't just wait and pray. You clearly did something. But she, and I pressed her on it, like a little more tactfully than I just said it. But I pressed her on it. I was like, but you surely did something. Like you surely da-da-da. And she just was like, sometimes you have to just wait. And it was a fascinating thing I was very uncomfortable with at that time. But now, many years later, the response you're giving me is, I think, again, a challenging one, but one that I am very convicted in now. Like it is truly, there's a practical lens to seeing the Lord as your business coach or your business partner, or whatever. There's a practical lens to it. So my spiritual director has often said, you don't have enough clients? What would you do in the normal world? You'd be like, hey, boss, I have more time than I have work. Give me more work. And he was like, do the same thing. So there's a practical lens, but then there's this also, and I think it combats the self-reliance. Like there's this much more supernatural sense of allowing you to be used, going against perhaps what you have been trained to sort of accept success looks like, and just all of that. So it's a beautiful answer, and one that I think people should appreciate. I do want to echo though something very practical, because what I have seen you do very well is working with influencers. And I'm very honored that I've been invited to join you in your next cohort. But there is something very strategic when you have a product that transforms, and then you offer it in some whatever way, like whether it's, you know, you're paying for it or you're gifting it or what have you, but you offer it in some way and you require that it's an authentic reaction. There is something so powerful to that. And so just for anyone listening who is looking for that little business nugget there. I think the way that Jackie has worked with influencers along the way, and I could name so many of them: Stephanie Weiner, dear friend of mine; Christine, the Future of Family, dear friend, and many others. You've worked with people and then allowed them to just simply share, or ask them to share.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have a product that transforms, if nobody knows about it, we have a problem. You know what I mean? Like, and so to just find the vehicle, and working with influence can be a very, very powerful way. So I do want to just, applaud you for what I've witnessed over the years. You've been able to, and that's a testament to the fact that you've developed a product and a process that creates transformation. So let's talk a little bit about that. What is the transformation that people can expect when they join you in a cohort of Reform Online?
Yeah, Lisa, I want to share a couple of snippets from testimonials. When I knew I was going to share a little bit about this, I thought, let me share from like a wide array of people. So I have men, priests, and some moms, and then two very successful Catholic leaders that have also taken our course. So I'm just going to share a couple of them, and I think that it will tell the story and just what they shared very authentically. Okay, this is from a male, a father of, I think, 5 at this point. I lost 15 pounds, not expecting that result at all. I feel so much better. It's hard to describe, but I feel like before reform, my normal was running on an 85% charged battery, which is higher than most. Now I feel like I can recalibrate. I've recalibrated my whole system, and I'm able to be more present in the moment where God is meeting me. This is a mother of 7. As a mother, the best gift I gave myself, my family, and God this year was Dig to the Roots, which is our second course in Reform. I am better, the best version of myself, more present and aware, lighter physically and spiritually, increased energy, and more available to those I love. And then from a few Catholic leaders, for so many years, I believed I had no choice but to keep pressing the dig deeper button, as in forcing myself to scrape the bottom of a nearly empty tank and pushing myself to somehow do the impossible. Today, I am grateful that I can truly dig deeper, not to simply survive from a state of depletion, but to thrive with a new definition of health and establish deeper roots in Christ. Reform has been a God-given gift in my life. And I'll share one more, and this is from Dr. Bob. I have found everything at Reform to be solidly Catholic and deeply rooted in Christ. The healthcare teaching is well balanced and integrates the best advice with solid spiritual and psychological wisdom.
Beautiful.
And I just think the best way to share transformation stories are from people directly. And, we had a mom who even said, I wish I did this earlier in my marriage and motherhood, because I'm adding to a toolkit that I will literally use for forever. And I think that's something that's really important for us to mention, is that investing in your health and investing in your relationship with the Lord, you cannot put a cost on those things. Like, those are literally the gifts that keep on giving. These are the investments that will be with you forever. And I think that's another reason why we haven't felt like we've needed to sell Reform, because first of all, you have to be in the right posture to receive. And sometimes, like my response with even our business strategy, it's sort of like, okay, but what, like, so then, like, what did you do? So like, okay, now I put Jesus at the center of my life. So like, what do? We will give you practical advice. We will give you tips and education. But there is a really beautiful art in surrendering and choosing to put him at the center of your life that is absolutely necessary. So there has been some really incredible change in the clients that have come through our doors.
I have a question. It might be kind of I don't know, not silly, but I'm just curious how you would answer this. Like, I think sometimes there can be a fear of surrendering to the Lord.
Oh yeah, of course.
And for me, it's like, there's many different things that go through my mind. It's like, well, I'm afraid of where you're going to take me.
Yeah.
I'm afraid it's going to be hard.
Mm-hmm.
I'm afraid it's going to be just well beyond, like I'm 40 and I'm pregnant. There are many thoughts I have about being 40 and pregnant with my, like with 11th child on earth. Like, I have all kinds of thoughts about that. So how do you if you were to counsel somebody on not being afraid to surrendering all to the Lord, like, what would you say?
I would say be not afraid. No, I would look at Our Lady. Mary is the most beautiful example. Mary gave me the courage to say yes. And Mary didn't know what was ahead of her. She just knew that she was invited to do something very uniquely given to her. And she has gone before us, and so has the Lord. And Lisa, there's nothing that we can experience that we can't unite to the Lord and Our Lady. And so, like, it's not like this is the first time this has ever been done. We have the saints, we have the communion of saints that we also get to call on. So I think that it's the courage to give yourself permission to live in a way, to say yes, to live in a way that you were intended to live. Like, we know that there is a way of life that is actually aligned to our faith. And that it doesn't have to be that the way that we live is different from the way that we live out our faith. And so I think that looking to Our Lady and even going through the Annunciation, I'm writing a thesis right now on the Annunciation. And so I've literally gone word by word, line by line. And I am so fascinated by not only Mary's courage, but her surrender, and how all of her beautiful virtues really came from this yes. And so I think she's the best example. And I think what you said at the start of this question was like, how are they not afraid? Like, how do we get over this fear? You have to take the leap. Like, that's what faith is. It's jumping into the unknown. But again, it's doing so with courage, but also with baby steps. And I think that's the little by little, because earlier you also said, people are desiring peace. And I think that's true both in our bodies and our soul. Like, we want to be at peace with our bodies. I think a lot of us are at war with our bodies. We want to be at peace within our soul. And I think some of us are living in a way that is opposite of what our soul desires. And so there's not peace there. So when we're really quiet and we allow the stillness of our heart to inform where we want to say yes, we get to look at Mary, who went before us and gave us this beautiful example of yes. So that's where I would look.
That's so beautiful. Well, listen, everybody, if you are like me and perhaps are desiring a little bit more peace, maybe a little less fatigue, maybe, you've got all kinds of other reasons. For me, I can like feel it. It's like screaming. Like, I just want a slightly more peaceful, as peaceful as can be with a whole bunch of children. But yeah, like, just, to put in some better practices so that I can maintain in the areas that I can control, maintain some peace. And so if you are also seeking this type of peace, this type of groundedness, let's talk about Reform Online, this home and family cohort. So tell us about it. I'm so excited to be participating. Share with us a little bit about it, Jackie.
Oh, thank you, Lisa. We're so excited. I'm completely in awe by the amount that you can do. It's amazing. And I know it's by the grace of God, but also it's really just amazing that you can run a very fruitful and beautiful business, that you are the matriarch of such a beautiful family. Thanks be to God. This is amazing. So I'm so grateful that you're going to be joining us for our cohort. So Reform Online is a 12-week online course that looks at the state of your body and soul together. And so we have 9 pre-recorded classes and then 3 live monthly events to help you journey through all of the pillars that I mentioned earlier. And a few times a year, we have special cohorts. And in January, we are starting a cohort called Reform Your Home and Family. And Lisa, because we know healthy parents are essential for the well-being of families and the church and society, we want to not only journey to the health of your body and soul with Christ at the center, but also help you reorient your health and your home and your family toward Christ so that we can have balance and order and simplicity in the domestic church. And so in addition to everything that we offer in Reform Online, part of the cohort's inclusion is that you also get a private consultation with myself or Dr. Bridget on our team. And that's where we're looking at your life specifically. We're looking at your health history, we're looking at your stressors, we're looking at the current state of your body and soul, and helping you build a formation in Christ that is very unique to you. So it's just a wonderful opportunity for you to have some of it self-paced, but also to have community and to reclaim your health in Christ.
So beautiful. Where can people go to learn more about this cohort?
Yeah, so you can visit our Instagram where we share a lot of free content and have many links in our bio that will give you an opportunity to learn more about Reform. To register, you can go to reformwellness.co, and we have a tab that says courses. So reformwellness.co, and then under courses, you'll find everything you need to about Reform online.
I think my final question for you today is, if you had you do have a megaphone, but what is the thing you would scream into a megaphone that you wished everybody knew about their health and their wellness?
The change that you're resisting the most is the change that you need the most.
Oh, stop it. Okay, Jackie.
I think that's what I would honestly say, Lisa.
Well, sign me up, because I've been resisting all these changes, just very on a very personal note. I used to be very, very active. I was also CrossFit, really, loved CrossFit. And I was a collegiate cheerleader. The last 2 years,
Amazing.
the last 2 years of my life, there have been a lot of, things that have happened where it just upended. We lived in 10 homes in 10 months. There was just
Oh
so
my
many things.
gosh.
So there's a lot of reasons why
Mhm.
habits and routines, and of course what happens when you're under stress, right? You stress eat, you stress. I had a miscarriage. So many different things have been going on, perimenopausal, and then pregnancy. So the last 2 years, especially for me, have been just one of upheaval. I can sense there's a little bit more stability, again, as much stability as one can have when you're 40 and pregnant and have 10 children running around your house. But it's so, when you said that, it just about gutted me, because it's sleep. For me, my biggest thing is sleep. I have told myself the lie 100% that I will just simply be more productive late at night because it's quiet. You know what I mean? And that, there might be some of that is true. Yes, I'm productive when it's quiet. That's 100% true. But I am afraid of what will happen if I sleep more, because I'm afraid I won't get as much done. And that's a perpetual self-reliant type of thing. And so it's, you got it. Hand is up. That is exactly it. What I'm resisting, I know I need a lot more of. And so I am excited. You're gonna whip me. You're gonna whip me into shape, and of course, I'm gonna be sharing it with everybody along the way. Is there anything else that you have not had a chance to say that you want to add today?
I feel grateful, Lisa. Thank you for your yes. It's really inspiring for me to see you beautifully balanced, and even with your beautiful honesty, your vocations, and your vocation as a wife, as a mother, and then living in order where then you can also have a thriving business. It's really, really beautiful to witness. And I think if I wanted to repeat anything, I would remind everyone that it's only with Christ at the center of our lives and our well-being that true, meaningful, and sustainable change can take place.
Yeah.
And so it is possible. It is possible to live in the way that you wish you could. It's possible to sleep. It's possible to manage your stress. It's possible to feel fully alive. It is. And I've seen it thousands of times. But it's going to start with him, and he can't wait to do it. So I hope I have the privilege to journey with more of you. Thank you so much for having us.
Well, wonderful, Jackie. Jackie Mulligan from Reform Wellness. You can look at the link wherever you're watching or listening to this to learn more about the upcoming home and family cohort. I'm so excited to be participating. And what a delight. I hope this is the first of many conversations, Jackie. You are just a delight to spend time with.
Oh, thank you, Lisa. I would love to come back and delve into more topics. And I look forward to journeying right alongside you. I reform with everyone. It's a lifelong journey. So I'll be right next to you, and hoping, that the Lord brings to fruition all that you desire in this season.
So much fun. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, we'll see you soon.